Hey everybody, this your girl Snow, and this is Snow in the House. Happy Monday! Ooh, the beginning of the week. Ooh, and we still on summer break. But as you all know, our babies will be going back to school come the fall. And I've definitely made my opinion and our decision very known that what's best for our children is to keep them remote learning in the fall. But what I'm very disheartened by is the lack of a plan should the parents decide to keep their children at home. At the end of the day, these are our children, and we have to remember that we've given so much control of our child's education to our school districts that at this point, whatever they say go. And with whatever they say goes means putting our children at risk of catching coronavirus in the Delta variant. And also, it allows for the opportunity for exposure to be transmitted from older sibling or whomever's older that's been vaccinated to come back into our pods with our children who are non-vaccinated. And as of now, the only thing that our babies can take is a flu shot that would give them maybe some extra protection when school comes back, but that's not enough. I appreciate that CPS, which is the biggest school district in Illinois, that they will be enforcing mask mandates for everyone, students and staff. But for those families who are able to and capable of maintaining our children at home with the continued remote learning option, should still be our option and our right to do. I am not liking the fact that I'm calling school districts and they telling me what I'm getting ready to do with my child when the risk and all of the data is out there about what type of environment is safe and not safe for our children. Also, they would not be able to maintain a 6 feet of distance when the school year starts back again. So now we have them back closer together on top of masks. And that's just not safe. I have expressed many times that now I've actually sat and talked with both of my children about what they wanted to do. Because again, they have a voice, but we're the parents, we have the final say. And the little one said that based on what he's hearing, he does not want to risk his life to catch something that they can't prove that he can't get by going back into the building. Granted, he is probably the most affected by being in the house because he has the most outgoing spirit, and he's the most gifted learner. But yet he still needs structure. But he's gonna get that because his parents are gonna make sure that he gets that. And the grade that he's going into is 4th grade, which is my classroom. One of my specifications or my expertise is in that 4th grade curriculum. So I have all of his books. So when I called one school today, the high school, to ask about how I was feeling and to talk to superintendent, of course you can't never get to anybody. And then I reached out to who finally answered the phone at the high school. The secretary, she answered the phone. The district office phone number has been busy all day, and I'm sure it's probably more concerned parents calling. And I advise you all to continue to keep calling your school districts because they are going to make the final decision on what's best for our children. And they can't tell us what's best for our children when there's a variant out here that's surging, when we have children that are non-vaccinated. We know that there's adults that are choosing to not get vaccinated and still think they come into work in the fall with just a mask on and that's enough. But then when they go home, they taking that mask off and doing whatever it is that they want to do. And the fact that they're not having to disclose that information to this parent is it's unacceptable to me. And I know I'm not the only parent that feels that way. So depending on each individual parent's household, your child's underlying conditions, I'm not even hearing solutions to those families. I'm not hearing a second option outside of return to full in person. You can't tell me that we're still going through a global pandemic and you're going to mandate and force our children back in a building without another option. And the instruction that we saw last year tells me that you need to continue to offer that online instruction as an option, because what I was seeing was unsatisfactory at our public schools. So if we as parents have to be more hands-on, but we don't have to be in daily face-to-face with a teacher that was doing subpar education, that should be our option as a parent to do that. Because I wasn't happy the book didn't get used at all. And I made those statements very well known, that the books were not being used, that we were not following the lesson plan that goes along with the series of books that was purchased in District 162. Right? That was just a fact. You go into your child's classroom, books, and you see them all on the floor right now because it wasn't enforced to use. What they were told to do was to use online technology and online services that they bought to supplement our children's education because they weren't face-to-face with the teacher. Where the teacher would have created that curriculum and that lesson plan for the week, it was done for her or for him through online platforms. And depending on what school district, some schools already had those online. RAS Kids and Study Island and all of that, we use those programs for busy work to supplement the face-to-face. If students were done with their assignments, in-class assignments, before the rest of the class and their other peers and the majority were completed, we would give them their Chromebooks and then they would work through doing RAS Kids and those type of programs like Study Island, because they teach our children how to take standardized tests. Those programs are designed to be multiple choice, read, find out the context clues to select the best answer out of the 4. So those are job aids. That's in addition to whatever the teacher was to introduce concepts to our children throughout a school day. So if that was poorly managed and poorly done, as we saw, and no child left behind, so everybody got pushed to the next grade, and if you didn't stay on your teacher, your child would have failed everything, because the enforcement piece of what the teacher was telling our children to do while the teacher was instructing the children via remote learning and enforcing that child did it was a big performance gap. And I identified that, and trust me, it was very difficult as the stay-at-home mom. But for my high schooler, he excelled being at home. And the research shows now, we have data from children who did the remote learning last year, and those children who are where their IEP falls on a different part of the spectrum, where they are still very capable of doing the work on their own through structured instruction, right? Without the distraction of other students and this and that in the classroom, those children performed better had they been in a face-to-face learning environment with other students around them. Granted, socialization is key, but socialization is not more important than our children's safety. So knowing that the data show that those children who are on IEPs and the way that we did remote learning for those learners, they excelled. Why wouldn't that also be still an option for us coming into the fall? Why are they really taking away the remote option for our children when you've just finished doing it for a whole year? You want to try to create these experimental learning environments that if they go bad, if they go wrong, if someone contracts it from a teacher or another student, who's holding that liability if one of those students contracts coronavirus? And if those students go to the hospital, and if they need medical attention after we have left the pod of safety, sent them to the school of unknownness, of sanitized, I would guess, to the best of your ability, social distancing at 3 feet, and enforcing mask wearing. So you all want to try that out for a semester and then see what the data brings back. Well, how about you try that with those parents who have no choice due to school, due to their work, having to go back to work, or their children need that one-on-one. A lot of our learners need that. They really do. And I also understand that I'm in the minority when it comes to being able to be a parent who can teach their child from home. Again, with the assistance of our school districts, because the assistance will come with the Chromebook and the lesson plan and the curriculum. Now, it's not going to be a good look if the minority of those parents are denied those resources to make sure that our child remains safe and are not put in harm's way. That's a problem. That's a real problem. And I'm kind of like at a stuck, and I should be at a stuck being a parent. I should be able to know what's going on, who's making the final decision, because this rude secretary at the Fine Arts Academy was like, well, Dr. Thomas has already made the decision and there is no remote learning option. You can't tell a group of families, 4,000 families or 2,500 families, can we even get a number on how many students are being filtered through two high schools, that you're just going to remove the remote learning option? Why? If we already know that the curriculum is 20 minutes of instruction, the students work on their own independently and they turn in their work and then they free to go. That is how high school is now set up for Rich Township. So what, and please tell me if this is we can't chew gum and walk at the same time, and you're an educator, right? So even if you do have children in your classroom, now what is the problem with the camera being put on you while you're teaching those on the inside? The kids on the outside you still have to maintain Schoolology, Rich Township. You still have to upload the information into Schoolology. PowerPoint slides, what you taught them during that 20 minutes, their homework, everything is still being loaded into Schoolology. So why are we forcing some children back in the building who don't want to be there because they're afraid, or their parent is afraid? And we have all reason to be afraid. People are still dying every day inside enclosed spaces. And what is a schoolhouse? An enclosed space with multiple rooms with poor ventilation. Now granted, ventilation system and HVAC have been improved over the summer. They got the budget to fix that. Okay, that's great. That's great. But until you are able to prove to me that we have the negative people coming in the building and those who are not, who are asymptomatic and positive, are not to be in the building. And the fact that we have to even say that and fight for that and keep on speaking up on that, that's a problem. They aren't to be in the building if they are positive and asymptomatic. Those tests, their vax cards, should be register to the nurse's office if in-school, in-person instruction is what that family is deciding to do. And if they can't produce that, they should not be allowed to come into the building and possibly infect teachers, staff, and other students. That's the part of this puzzle that we could do much better at being the voice at, being an advocate for. What are the safety protocols? Because telling me what CDC say, it's not enough. Telling me what the Illinois School Board is telling you to do school, that's not my problem. My problem is subjecting our children to unvaccinated and or positive or asymptomatic people. And we won't have privy to that information. So the longer we're not privy to that information, or that you're going to collect that information privately, Schoolhouse, and only give us a summary that yes, you know that every teacher back in that building is negative and have been tested and has taken the vaccine. If that's not given to us, you're not getting ready to tell us that that's a safe learning environment for anybody's child. You're not. And that's so when school starts back and somebody comes back positive, what you doing? Emptying the building for 14 days? Keeping it clean. So every 14-day turnaround, every time somebody pop positive, you putting people back on remote learning? Is that really the path that we're getting ready to take? Go into the building with just temperatures, not knowing everyone's status, and then when somebody pops positive, you clear the building for 14 days, and then you bring everybody back? Does that sound like a safe plan for anybody's child and learner? No. That just adds more question marks. Some school districts do not have the bus capacity to pick up the children with every child sitting every other seat, social distance every other seat. They can't even transport enough children back in the building with the contracts that they have with our transportation. So when are we going to find that out too? Now, seeing as though mine have IEPs, our transportation will run a little bit different. The high schoolers, they're high schoolers, so they get picked up in little minivans with 3 other learners and the driver. That's a great. I can see that happening. Windows down, maybe mask up to transport. But still, in that little bubble of the inside of a car, what if one of them is positive? Even with the mask up. Are they wearing hand sanitizers and gloves? See, these are things we need to be teaching our children before we get to opening up the school. And have we had a lesson or some type of workshop that Parent University is enrolling out to our students prior to going back into the building? Nope. You waiting for them to have this conversation when you have their first meeting with them during the first week of school, when we only bring in the juniors and seniors in first for their orientation meeting, is when we're going to teach hygiene in a 3-hour in the gym dome, 3 feet apart. How are y'all getting ready to do that? That gym is not that big for that, for all those returning students. No. Even getting them the information that you need to get them in that environment of that performance center. Practicing social distances, you'll be having orientation meetings for at least 2 to 3 days to get through all of the classes and all of the grades. So right there, that tells me that y'all not ready. Y'all just hoping for the best. And that's unacceptable for this mother advocate. That's unacceptable. And only thing we can do, again, I encourage parents to call your district office, because my concern, I know I'm not alone, but I'm a minority in this. I know that majority of parents need to get their kids back. All the assistance and programs due to the pandemic is going to end for some in September and October. It's getting ready to end. So finding your new remote job or figuring out what your new skill set is, as the hospitality industry cannot maintain wait staffs and people who are willing to risk their lives for our leisure to come serve us at restaurants. because they're not willing to risk their own lives to serve us if we're choosing to not come in vaxxed up because that's your right to do. No, it's not your right to do to infect another person and put their life at risk for $2 an hour and based on our non-tipping society. We don't tip enough to pay light, gas, water for anybody who works hospitality and waitress or waiter is your job. No, we don't. We don't even think about that when we sitting at the table ordering all those things and then you decide to tip under 10 and 15%. That's not fair to them. That we still want to be leisurely fun and then you want to come in all non-masked up. That, if I was going back into any type of hospitality or retail, I can't. And so what now? Since we can't, and those are some of the skill sets that we have, be a hospitality, be a teacher educator, and we teacher educator not knowing the status of our children when they walk in the door, does that make that safe for me, person with underlying conditions? No, it does not. It's not. It's a health hazard. As much as I would love and want to come back into the school building because I enjoy teaching and educating our children, but not at the risk of my life, though. So, seeing as though I'm one of those people that have a couple of different skill sets, the online universities are really looking for us. So if you are a parapro substitute teacher and have your credentials and your employment, or you're looking for something to do that doesn't require you to be in a building, there are online public schools looking for us as well. But you would also think that our public schools within our community will be looking for us as well to be a supplemental resource for those parents who want to remain online. Yes, bring in those parapros, those substitute teachers, those master's professionals in technology to maintain that remote learning option for those grades. Have them come on as permanent subs to do the technology remote learning piece if the other teachers cannot chew gum and walk and teach at the same time. And I mean literally, it is putting the camera towards the teacher while they teach the rest of the students, because the rest of the students will have their Chromebook where they have to do their work if they're in the classroom or not. We are teaching in 2021. Educating our children is different. Everyone has a Chromebook and they are all using Schoolology 227. So for that to not be an option, know that that is how they're being taught in person. I don't know if you think that we're slow or you don't value our intellect to be able to see and understand that y'all really trying to get people back in the building because of budgetary issues. That if we don't get students in the building and you collect that per student per capita towards your budget, the school will suffer. Yes, it will. But that's when you need to have someone who is an awesome grant writer to get you the resources that you need to keep our minority of parents and families who want to stay at home the grant and the resources to do that. And it can be done. I just gave out a whole list of suggestions on how that can be done. Should I write a proposal? Yes. Should I submit that? Probably so. But the lack of communication that we receive, I shouldn't have to do all that. That should be provided to us so we can make informed decisions as parents. But you're not giving us an option. You want to be telling us what we're going to do with our children. And that's not hot. So, as we're getting ready to restart and re-kick off and get ready for 2022 elections, let's please be mindful of who's sitting on our school boards right now and who's making the decisions for our children. And District 227, our school board meeting is tomorrow, Tuesday, 5:30, I believe, Central Standard Time. Please look at the 227 website for the correct information, because right now I'm just so off of, I can't get the right time together for you all, but it's on the website, the link, the Zoom link, and also there's an opportunity for you to post your question and submit your question prior to the meeting. You can't get on the meeting, on the Zoom call. We're all going to be put on mute. You're going to watch the meeting, and they're going to have a public portion that normally happens before they go into full session of telling us what they're deciding to do. And you have to submit your question prior to that meeting. So I'm going to look that up so I can make sure my question is submitted prior to. Try to get that done before Tuesday, because you really can't deny the children their education during this global pandemic, and I don't understand how you all think that you can. Yes, we are regulated by the Illinois School Board. However, they did not give birth to our children. So at the end of the day, that decision comes down to the parent. And if we're fearful of them contracting it, the best thing for us to do is to keep our children still in their pod so they don't catch it. And we do not have to trust your sanitation during a global pandemic. It's just how this parent feels. So that's all I have for today. It's a Monday. This is more of a plea for other parents who have the same concerns that I do, to make their concerns known to our school districts, because again, they speak for us. And if they don't know what we're thinking and what type of workaround we're willing to do to work with the school district, because if you give us all of the stuff that we need at the house and we register to your building, that should mean you should still get your budget for our child and work with us and able to make sure that they're educated properly at the house, as we just got finished doing. Far as state assessments, I know each year the school is based on the assessments that are taken by each individual child at their school district. Then do it before it gets too cold so we can do it out on the football field or something like that. Because nothing about that building says that you're going to be able to hold the capacity that you need in order to administer that test, unless it's in each individual smaller classroom sizes, which is also not safe right now with the Delta variant on the surge and people still electing to not get vaccinated. We're 54% vaccinated in Illinois. We needed to hit 74, 75, 73 in order for us to feel safe as a state. And that's not what we have. So now each individual school should probably put out a report card on how many percentage of their staff is vaccinated. That might help us out a little bit on making better informed decisions if our school districts are safe for our children to go back in. But now we have a 54% vaccination rate statewide, and that's subpar. That's unsatisfactory, and that's not safe. Benchmarks are 80%. 80%. And on STEM, that's a C. On STEM grading system, 80% is a C. So you want your child going into a building that's performing at C standards, which is just what the state of Illinois is requiring us to have, C standards? That's why the suburban schools are still offering remote learning. We get to see what the other surrounding school districts are doing while we're forcing people into the school and making choices of homeschooling and kicking our children out. Because we have to pick homeschooling, that's exactly what we're doing. We're electing to have our children removed out of the school district and see y'all senior year and see you fourth grade. Man, that seems like that has no empathy and no sympathy for the people that you're supposed to care about, which is our students. And I understand again, and I will say this again and again, I understand that we are the minority, that the majority of parents have to send their children back or they're not going to be able to pay their bills. So those parents who have always had a stay-at-home parent who's remote learned or homeschooled their children is nothing new. It doesn't happen in communities of color that often. That's all it is. It happens every place USA, but not where we are heavily populated African American communities. No. And the fact that they aren't offering it to us, but yet our neighboring school districts are still offering it to their students, is disrespectful to us. Especially those parents and families who understand and know what's going on and are willing to take that responsibility of homeschooling our own children with our resources from the school district. Now, please explain to this parent how those resources won't be allowed to those parents who are in fear of our children contracting coronavirus and that they can't be vaccinated. Please explain that to us. Please do that. And send it out in a nice email when you do make your decision tomorrow at the board meeting. 227 tomorrow, 162. I don't know when your board meeting is, and I guess we'll either get a email to check that. I really don't know, or a robocall telling us what we have to do. I don't really know, and that's also real sad that we don't know, and we're 3 weeks removed from school starting back again. So I'm going to leave that right there. That was a lot. Schools are reopening without a remote learning option and pretty much telling us that we have to choose between in-person or no instruction at all. Those are our options right now. And how do you feel about that? Hit me up in a DM and let me know. Please place a comment. Please share and reshare, because I know I'm not the only parent that thinks this way. We have to protect our children. Just 2 days ago, a 5-year-old African-American boy died to coronavirus by being exposed during summer school. Do you want that to be your child? I don't want it to be my child. And I hope I'm not alone with that. So please share this video. I hope you all have a great rest of your Monday. I'm getting ready to go relax and do something else to get my mind off of this, because it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in. So thank y'all for watching. It's your girl Snow. I'm in the house, Synovia Reynolds Parks. And as always, if nobody told you today that they love you, I do. If no one told you you were special, you are. If nobody told you it was great, you are great. I love you. You're special. You're great. And have a blessed rest of your day. Mwah.